have not just Bubba Wallace, but Kurt Busch both be involved in that final lap accident. Now you've got 2 damaged cars in addition to damaged morale. I think panic button is probably right there in reach for Denny Hamlin.
Hey race fans, welcome to this week's edition of Backseat Drivers. I'm Kim Kuhn in Studio 3, joined by Nate Ryan and Dylan Mamba Smith. Well, it was big blocks and big pushes at NASCAR's biggest speedway, Talladega, but in the end, survival and track position was what mattered. Team Trackhouse getting it done. Ross Chastain grabbing his 2nd win on the season, but before the green flag waved on Sunday, Kyle Busch was stealing all of the headlines. Asked about his future with JGR, and he suggested if the team cannot find him sponsorship, there might not be a place for him next season there. Comments like, ask Joe Gibbs, it's not my problem. Kyle getting a little spicy. TRD not quite happy with him. Will Kyle Busch, though, return to JGR next season? I want to start with you, Nate.
I think it's a maybe at this point, Kim. And a week ago, after the Bristol win, I would have said it's a yes, because at that point, Kyle Busch is next to Coy Gibbs, and they're both expressing optimism about having a sponsor for Kyle Busch, which that to me is the key to him returning at JGR in 2023. But now, for Kyle Busch to raise these doubts, in the background we know they've got Ty Gibbs in the Xfinity Series. If Joe Gibbs Racing wants to promote Ty Gibbs, that probably means it's either Martin Truex Jr. or Kyle Busch on the outs. We know Martin Truex Jr. is in a contract year. He's still considering if he maybe wants to drive beyond this season, but he has a sponsor. He's got Bass Pro. I'm very curious to see what happens with Kyle Busch, because if they do want to bring Ty Gibbs up, Kyle Busch doesn't have a lot of leverage there. So I feel like the team maybe has him over a barrel a little bit if negotiations are happening here behind the scenes, and I think that's what we heard at Talladega.
Yeah, Kyle definitely sounding frustrated. At one point, I think, when asked what he hopes the timeline to look like, he said yesterday. So your thoughts, Mamba, on where Kyle stands with JGR?
Ooh, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like Kyle Busch without a sponsor, Kyle Busch maybe without Joe Gibbs Racing, like, it doesn't really seem real, but I'm here for all the drama. This is great. I don't know. I'm not really sure, right? Like, it's all being spooled up really quickly. And Kyle's an entertainer, even though he says he doesn't like being one. He obviously likes being one and playing the media and playing both sides, and he's good at it. And this is something that you see like more than NFL, NBA, like the talent, the athletes really putting it to the ownership and making them have to make decisions and get a little uncomfortable to get what they want. I kind of feel like this is one of those situations, but it's interesting that Toyota not really being super thrilled with what the comments were, which I wouldn't be if I was them either. But then again, it's KFB, and you kind of get what you pay for.
You do, and he's one of the most sought-after drivers. He can get anything done in any series, but a lot of drivers are already locked into contracts with teams. So if Kyle doesn't end up at JGR, what spot are we looking at for Rowdy?
What do you think? I'm going to go to the expert.
I think the obvious one would be Stewart-Haas, because we know Eric Almirola is retiring after this season. I don't think they necessarily have anybody lined up, or we haven't heard anybody there. And I think, to Mamba's point, I mean, Toyota's David Wilson told Dustin Logan, NBCSports.com, that they were a little disappointed. They understand Kyle's frustration, but they were a little bit disappointed. I think that disappointment stems from this being out there. It makes this situation a little bit more fraught, and now I'm not saying it becomes a feeding frenzy immediately, but now you have teams that are aware of this, and now I think it gets interesting, much the way it did when Kyle Busch got fired at Hendrick Motorsports so they could make room for Dale Jr. in 2008.
It's kind of blood in the water a little bit. The Sharks are probably starting to spoil a little bit. I don't know. I think you say Stewart-Haas, and I'm saying possibly ownership, right? We have all these new people looking at the sport, wanting to get in. Michael Jordan just got in with Denny Hamlin. Probably not a bad option if you want to get in with Kyle Busch. He's already got a race team, and that's the other caveat to this whole thing is, if he does he stay Toyota like he has with the trucks, or does he make a manufacturer switch? And if he does, where does that leave his truck team? There's a lot of moving parts to this that make it very entertaining.
Absolutely, and it should be very interesting to watch to see how that unfolds. What was also interesting was the end of the race at Talladega Superspeedway. You know, it looked like Erik Jones maybe had in the bag. Kyle Larson, I know, heartbreak. We'll get to that in a little bit. Ross Chastain, though, I don't want to say stealing a win, but getting himself into victory lane by basically doing nothing. He even said so. Getting his 2nd win on the season. And so now we're looking at Ross Chastain as one of the heavy hitters in the field. He's the most consistent. So is Ross Chastain a championship 4 contender?
I still think no. And I'll go to what Justin Marks was saying post-race, Ross Chastain's team owner of Trackhouse Racing. He was very much saying, look, we're just still taking this race by race, week by week. We're not even looking at the playoffs. We're not even talking playoffs, even though Ross Chastain is very much locked in. And now with being one of 2 guys with 2 wins, I think you can start looking at, he's almost a lock to advance past the first round at this point, which is very good for Trackhouse. But I still think the lack of experience there and the fact that Trackhouse is still a relatively new team and the way we see powerhouse teams kind of build toward the second half, I still feel like he's not a lock to make the championship for.
I'm going to go with a solid Elite 8. Really, he's going to be a hard out, though. That's the thing. Like, he's going to be a hard out because he's like a dog with a bone. Once he, like, gets in the situation, it's really hard to get him out of the situation of winning races. And right now he's rolling. They're rolling. But to Nate's point, this team has never been in this situation before. Like, they've never been such an up-ticket trending. They're brand new. The 99 was there last year. The 1 is brand new. So I think they're going to be ready for the call. But to be Champ 4 is so hard, right? We're so far out. You got to get by. You still got to get by all the vets. And then you got William Byron, you got Ryan Blaney, you got Kurt Busch is really hungry. Like, there's a lot of guys you got to get through to get that Final 4. So I'm with Nate, not yet, but 8, round of 8 for sure.
All right, I think he's a solid round of 8, but he surprised us already.
I know.
So he might surprise us and make the championship 4. All right, if you watched last week's episode of Backseat Drivers, Steve Letarte, Alex Weaver, and Mamba all picked Ford to go to victory lane at Talladega Superspeedway.
It made sense.
At Talladega. He says it made sense. Looking at their performance, I don't know if you can agree with that now. And so does Ford no longer hold the Superspeedway advantage, or maybe was this just a one-off weird race for them?
I think a lot of their advantage came from how they worked together as a group. And that's really how I made my assessment, right? And you know, the way the noses line up, I think we saw that at Talladega. Like, the Fords can push really, really well. Yeah. And that matters so much. If you're, a Chevy or Toyota, you're like, yeah, give me a Ford behind me and we'll probably roll. But the Chevys, they have that point still. And it seems like it would catch the back of the bumpers. And same with the Toyotas with their logo. It caught the 22 and sent him into the fence too. So, like, that's an issue I think they're going to continue to have at super speedways. And you really can't fix it other than not pushing as hard in the light spots of the racetrack. So I still think the Fords have an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault Mamba or Stevie or Alex for picking Ford because if you're going off the history, I mean, this is why I don't make predictions, because Ford clearly was the favorite going in, but I think Mamba's absolutely right. They still have that bump drafting ability. That's still the best car to be drafting with and to be pushed by. But in terms of the way I think the next gen affected super speedway racing, I think people are still feeling it out, and we heard a lot about track position after this race, and Ryan Blaney said it's really difficult to pass, and I think that just negated Ford's alliance advantage a little bit in this race.
All right. Well, last week you guys also said that you wouldn't touch Denny Hamlin with a 10-foot pole.
I don't remember exactly saying it like that.
I think Stevie even said he wouldn't even let Denny drive one of his rentals.
Stevie said, yeah, give Letarte that.
I'll give Letarte trouble for that. Not only did Denny Hamlin not fare well, but his team seems to have grabbed their owner's bad luck as well. 23-11 in the closing lap. The tri-oval knocking both of their cars, the 45 and the 23 of Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace, out. So we've seen this happen at other races this season. Yeah. They're running well, but for whatever reason, they don't finish, and they have this kind of a cloud hanging over them. So at what point does 23-11 hit the panic button, and maybe have they already hit it?
They probably have already hit it, Kim. And I feel like the way this race ended, I mean, that they were such a factor throughout, and that Bubba Wallace certainly seemed like he was going to be a contender all the way to the final lap, but then to have the final lap unfold the way it does, and then have not just Bubba Wallace but Kurt Busch both be involved in that final lap accident. Now you've got 2 damaged cars in addition to damaged morale from, hey, this is the race we had circled on our calendar, certainly for Bubba being the defending winner at Talladega. So, yeah, I think panic button is probably right there in reach for Denny Hamlin.
Look. It's not panic. It's not panic time. This is professional sports. There's always pressure, right? So I'm not gonna say it's panic time, but if you think that those guys and girls over there at 23-11 don't want to win again and win like right now, you're crazy. So they've shown speed. It's not like they haven't been fast with both cars. I think their days are coming. You just got to keep kind of pounding your head against that wall, and eventually it cracks, and you're like, okay, we see the light again, and it starts flipping that around a little bit. But they gotta finish, right? They've been running well, making the right calls on pit road. They got to finish the races with all 4 tires rolling in the right direction.
If you're 2311, are you discouraged by what Trackhouse is able to do, or are you encouraged?
Great point. I would be a little discouraged by it. I mean, I feel like it's probably a motivator for the team to some extent. And maybe you can look at it and say Trackhouse is way less of a startup because they had all the infrastructure from Chip Ganassi Racing, but I'm sure they measure themselves against Trackhouse as being, a quasi-startup organization, and they're pretty far behind where Trackhouse is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where they look at them as direct competition. Like, oh, we came in at the same time, but the way that the teams were built were different. Like, Trackhouse was specifically built for this car. Now, 2311 was too, but they were fine showing a lot of speed with the other car and with Gibbs. And you got to look at the alliances, and RCR did a lot of testing with the new car, so that also matters. And Toyota as a whole hasn't been stellar, so I wouldn't really be like, oh, 2311, they're struggling. I'd be like, that whole kind of camp is a little bit behind.
It's time for a rapid response powered by 5-Hour Energy. You guys know how this works. You can be as quick or as lengthy as you want in these answers. I want to start with you on this one, Mamba, because I saw your tweet after the end of the race. Oh, heartbreaking. Erik Jones, the 43 out front. He is leading. We think he's going to get the win for the 43. Doesn't happen. So does Erik Jones make the playoffs this season?
I'm sad.
You are.
I'm really sad.
Honestly, I think we were all sad for Petty GMS.
And
he's been so fast all season.
He's been fast all season. I think it was Vegas. He was running really well and got loose and he's been fast other places too. And it's just and you want to see the 43 back in victory lane, and those that's a new team too, to a different extent, right? They came together with GMS, Petty and GMS did. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure I said this at the beginning of the year. I thought he was going to win a race or make his way into the playoffs. I don't remember because the first episode they threw on who's in their 16. I'm like, who's even racing? I don't even know. But I think he's going to win a race. They just keep showing so much promise.
I would have said yes if not for Vegas, and I believe it was Fontana or maybe Phoenix. 2 of those races he had late race problems when he ran really well, and that's why he's 17th in points.
Right.
And I just feel like that's too much of a gap to make up. Now, I say no with the caveat again. I don't make predictions. And
He's rolling it back. All right, Burton.
I'm a journalist. I couch everything. Okay, so the last race of the regular season is Daytona. And obviously, Erik Jones showed at Talladega, and he's shown before at Daytona that he can win there. So I still feel like there's a chance for this team, but I don't think they make it on points.
Nobody's looking at Darlington?
I think he's going to win.
He's won at Darlington.
I said he's going to be in. I didn't say points.
I feel like he only gets so many chances, and he's had 3 of them slip away, at least.
I like it. Hood to hood. All right. Well, coming into Talladega Superspeedway, Brad Keselowski was the one we were looking at. We know how good he is at superspeedways. We know that RFK had this race circled for he and the team. Unfortunately, didn't get the performance we expected. 2 speeding penalties for Brad Keselowski. So error after error. So does Daytona 2 become a must-win for Brad K? So ultimately, does he win before Daytona, or is he going to be in this do or die situation?
I think it's definitely do or die at this point, Kim, because of, you look back at the points penalty, and the only path into the playoffs at this point for this team is with a win. And I don't see really any other track where he's going to have a great shot to win other than Daytona. I mean, maybe he's a good road course driver, so maybe a road course could present opportunity like the Glen, but to me, Daytona's it.
You guys realize that there's only been 2 multi-time winners this year?
Yeah.
There's a lot of one-time winners. Look, I just think that this car makes it to where you can kind of, if you hit it, you can hit it really well. And they've had not a lot of speed at other places. They've had some. They've had inclinations of maybe they're going to turn around. But probably he's going to have to win Daytona. That's just kind of the realism of their situation. But I wouldn't be shocked if he won before that, because I feel like someone's going to hit it every week, and it'll be someone different.
Maybe Pocono. Looking at Pocono for Brad K?
Michigan.
Oh, well, I don't know. We'll have to see that.
He'd want to win that one.
Yeah, I know. That's why I give it to him.
I don't look at that team as having great horsepower and aero. Despite I understand your point. Like we've seen a lot of guys just jump up and win, but I don't see that team just out of the blue winning.
All right. All right, 2022 season, over, under, like I mentioned at the top of the show, surprised everyone, Trackhouse Racing getting their second win of the season, second win just for the team in general. So what are we looking at in terms of their total wins? 4.5 wins for Trackhouse, over, under on the season.
I'm going to go under. I feel like Chastain probably can win one more, and I feel like there's probably a win lurking out there for Daniel Suarez, but I think 4.5 is like, that is exactly the break point. I don't see them getting to 5, but I can definitely see them getting to 4.
How do you get a half a win? Can someone explain this to me? I don't understand how you win a half a race.
Talk to our producer. I think it makes it a little bit tougher to decide whether you want to be over or under.
I see how you guys are doing this. All right. I mean, 4. That's tough. That's a lot, right? I'm gonna go, but oh man, 5? Really? Trackhouse?
That's why it makes it a little tough.
I feel like if I go 5 here, though, I can't be like he's not a champ 4. Like if you're winning,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like
you already have him in your
that's what I'm
Elite
saying.
8.
So I feel like if I'm not going into them champ 4 right now, I got to go with the under.
All right.
Because I got to stay consistent.
Because if he gets 3 or 4 wins, then he's an Elite 8
without
lock
question.
almost at that point.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go under.
Yeah.
But that could change next week.
Yeah.
If he wins this weekend, it could change.
Let's put a little note on this. We'll revisit this episode come the end of the season and see what we think about that. All right, time for Backseat Bets presented by BetMGM. We are laying Talladega Superspeedway to rest. We are looking forward to the Monster Mile, Dover. So, you guys ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
All right, first up, Ross Chastain versus Kyle Larson. Starting with you, Mamba.
This
This is a hard one.
Yeah, because every being of my fiber says go with Kyle Larson because you think that's a no-brainer, but it's not anymore. I gotta go Ross. He's riding the wave. I gotta go Ross.
I'm gonna go Chastain for a weird reason. I know he tested a wheel force car there last year with Next Gen, so I feel like he's on this roll, and he also comes with a little bit of experience with this car at Dover.
Okay, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna say Kyle Larson. Next up, Alex Bowman versus William Byron. So I didn't even have to finish the head-to-head.
No, give it to
Byron,
me.
why?
He is similar to Chase Briscoe at Stewart-Haas. He is starting to turn into the guy that you thought he was going to be when he was so much younger. He's really starting to put those finishes together. Been fast, has a little bit of swagger back. He's winning. He's winning on everything now. He's winning on his short track program too. So go with him.
I don't think you can go wrong with a Hendrick driver, but I'll take Bowman simply because he won there last year.
All right, I'm going Willie B. Kevin Harvick versus Martin Truex Jr. Both previous winners at the Monster Mile. Can't say much of either of those teams this season, so I feel like it's a pretty good match.
Shade. The shade. Give me Cage. Give me Happy Harvick. Yeah. I really think that that group is going to continue to make moves forward. And as an organization, even though they don't have as many wins as JGR, they seem to be faster on a week in and week out basis.
I'll take Truex. I mean, like you said, Kim, and he's largely been invisible for a lot of the season. He was a little bit in the mix at Talladega, but I mean, this is where he got his first win. It's his home track, so to speak. If you think of Miami, New Jersey, this is one of three.
Yeah. New England Loudon counts.
Yeah.
I'll take Truex.
I'm going MTJ as well. All right, final one, Chase Elliott versus Tyler Reddick.
I gotta stop. I'm done picking Tyler Reddick.
You guys just willed bad luck upon Tyler Reddick, especially this past week.
That was again not me. Them two. I love Tyler. I'm going with Chase Elliott though. I really think he needs to get a win on an oval.
Yeah,
It's been I don't know if it's gonna be this one, but in this matchup, he just needs to. I don't know, but he's having a record career year.
Yeah.
Like. With finishes and points and everything, he's leading the points. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Does he have to win? Like, I don't know. Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. I'll take Reddick. I'll put the jinx on him. That if you're gonna remove it, I'll put it right there. I mean, he's gonna win at some point, right? I mean, like all of this misfortune, the engine problem at Talladega after, Bristol dirt, and all the times this year he's been so close. I just feel like the odds eventually go the other way.
All right, I am waving the 9 banner on this. Choosing Chase Elliott.
That chair always picks.
First of all, that is not true.
That chair always picks the 9, the 5, or like the 22. That's
This
all that
chair
chair picks.
always picks the 12. And I'm speaking for both of us, because when you're not here, I'm in that chair where you're
This
always
is the
picking the
12
12.
chair.
It
This
is
is
the 12
triple
chair.
down, dog down on that.
All right, well, headed to the Monster Mile. I'm not sure what to expect, because the next gen car, this track, very different from what we've ran so far this season. A mile, a concrete, high banks, up and down roller coaster. That's how the drivers describe it. So who are we going to take home? Miles
look
the
here
Monster.
first. Don't look here
Don't
first.
look. Okay. I know who I'm picking.
Okay, I'll take Kyle Busch just because I love, like Mamba said, I love drama, I love intrigue. That just adds another layer to the most intriguing story of the week.
Nate wants all the tea.
He wants all of the tea.
He wants all the tea. Man, this is actually like really hard because I really have no idea. I would say like look to Bristol because it's concrete and high bank, but
It was a dirt.
it was not
covered in
concrete
dirt.
and high bank. I'm gonna go with.
Don't pick mine. I don't think you will.
No, I don't think I will either.
Yeah.
I think I am going to go with William Byron. Actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel really good about what he's doing right now. I just have a funny feeling.
Okay, I'm going with Martin Truex Jr. I know he hasn't been that great this season, but a multi-time winner at his home track, and in the last handful of races, if he's not winning, he's finishing runner-up.
It's a bold pick, I would say.
You think?
Well, yeah.
I know they really haven't ran that well this
No.
season. So
We just talked about the Toyota struggling. You guys both picked Toyotas. I just want to point that out real quick. Okay.
well, we'll have to wait and see.
I'm staying with William Byron. I thought about
All
switching
right.
right now, but
Okay. Willie B, MTJ, Rowdy. We'll see who gets the bragging rights after this weekend at the Monster Mile. Nate, Mamba, great having you guys. We'll see you guys next week in the backseat. Until then, enjoy the racing from Dover, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern on FS1.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more clips, highlights, and full-length episodes. Also, check out NASCAR.com to stay up to date with all the latest news.